Welcome everyone, my name is Jacob. Thank you for joining me. This is Hunt Detail. You can find Hunt Detail on YouTube. There's a podcast channel for Hunt Detail, and you can find me personally on Instagram under at J_Coons_hunts. Unfortunately, we are looking December straight in the face. It is upon us. The things have changed. The rut has died down, if not died completely. And if you follow any type of hunting content, you've heard of the Drurys, Mark and Terry Drury. They came up with 13, which are 13 phases of, I guess, the rut or hunting season. And those gentlemen have forgotten more about whitetail hunting than I'll ever know. They are fantastic, and they're very analytical, of course. But one of the things in that Drury 13 phase is November 20th to the 25th is phase 9, and it's titled The Party's Over. And it reminds me of a couple of bucks that I've killed in a particular area. This is one that I killed in 2021. And I killed him on November 19th. And he was, a group of does had come up. He was about 10 minutes behind them. He was on, sort of trailing them. And November 19th, killed him. And then 15 minutes later, a bigger 10-pointer came in. And I was already on the ground out of my stand to go get this guy. And he was on that same doe trail. So that was November 19th, I think, of 2021. And then November 20th of, I think, this is 2020. In a very similar area, this buck, a day later, a year difference, but a day later, he was just on sort of a feed pattern on November 20th. And I share this because this is sort of the difference illustrated for me personally. At like one day on November 19th of one particular year, I had bucks going nuts over a group of does. November 20th on a different year, I had a really nice buck in a similar area, and he was just on a feed pattern. He wasn't interested in does. And now, of course, different years, different times, different bucks, different does, different, completely situational. But to me, it just illustrated sort of in my own personal experience how things change so quickly. And so now, according to the Drury 13, we're going into phase 10. We're in phase 10. It goes from November 26th to December 3rd of greener pastures. Now, I will remind you that the Drurys hunt managed properties in Iowa, so they're in a different space altogether. It's not like they are hunting public land. I mean, I'm sure that they do and they have, and I'm not discounting, but when they say greener pastures, they're talking about, cornfields or soybeans or other ag that maybe they've set up on those private farms for deer to go to. But the truth still remains is that your bucks are probably still interested in breeding, but they're not interested in doing all the work that they've been doing for the past month. They're sort of wore out, and so they may be sticking closer to their personal secure bedding area, and they're not really wanting to expose themselves to all these people that have been in the woods in the past month. And so they have their secure bedding area. They have maybe a food source nearby. Maybe it's an oak flat with red oaks or some other, it's a south-facing slope, so it maybe still has, it's a little bit warmer, maybe has a little bit more green browse. And their movements are very limited. They're not maybe covering miles to find the hot doe. If they come across the hot doe, then I'm sure they'll be happy to breed them. But that to me is what it means with greener pastures, is that the deer movement has changed significantly. And then just to go into the next phase with the Drurys, again, it's waiting on a front, and that's December 4th through the 10th. And that's really where it's maybe you have a series of warm days, maybe it's in the 30s and you have a front that drops it down to 10, or maybe it's in the 50s and it drops it down to the 30s. You have a significant shift in the highs and lows, and that maybe encourages deer movement to focus again more on food, uh, and again not necessarily rut behavior, but they're moving more because of that temp drop. They feel the desire to feed. So that's sort of, I think, where we're at. And for what I would encourage you is, and I hear this a lot, is the Orange Army. Here comes the Orange Army, and maybe the Orange Army has already come. It varies from state to state to state, but ultimately, what I would say is enlist. I know it's stated sort of as a negative thing that folks are going gun hunting and you see orange everywhere in the woods, and obviously the woods is very open now, and that's another reason why you see less deer movement, because they are so exposed. But I would encourage you to enlist. Uh, get that orange, get your rifle, shotgun, muzzleloader, whatever out, and have fun. Get out there and hunt deer, because that's what we're here to do. If there was a season for only set aside for hunting deer with boomerangs, then I would do it, or slingshots, so I would do it, or whatever. I mean, I'm being a little bit facetious, but my point is that don't let other people's projections of the negative, like the negativity of gun hunters, don't have them put that on you. And I would encourage you to think about, approach the gun season, if you're in it, or if you haven't already, approach it as with the same mentality of bow hunting, the same meticulousness, the same thought in terms of, should I get in this tree or that tree? Because what you will see is a lot of folks sit on field edges and they can see far because and they want to see far because they can shoot far. But I think it's important to go back to what we just stated, that these deer movement is limited now, and buck movement may be very a much smaller range, and so test theories on, I think this is the thickest area, the thickest part of this area. I think this might be a buck bedding area. I'm going to hunt, near that, downwind of that. Or this is a food source that I really think that bucks will travel to from their bedding area. I'm going to set up in between where I believe they're bedding and where I believe they may get, maybe it's an oak flat or whatever. But those are the things that I would do at this particular point in time, and I would approach it with that mindset, that not the mindset of somebody that, maybe your shots now are only 50 yards or whatever, but you're not just sitting on a field edge and hoping for something to show up. You're actually hunting with intentionality and with purpose, and you're testing theories. Because I think otherwise hunting with a gun can still be very frustrating, because you're going to sit for a long time and maybe not see anything until it's too late, until it's last light. And so that's where it means get in the timber and understand, where these deer are holing up. So, it reminds me of a movie that I watched just this past week. In fact, if you are a child of the 80s and 90s, there was a movie called Predator with Schwarzenegger, and it's one of my favorite movies. And a couple years ago, the movie Prey came out. I think it came out in 2022, maybe 2021, and it's proposed as a prequel to Predator. And again, the Predator is hunting you. And so if you were, first of all, I want to say 2 thumbs up for the movie Prey. They did a really, really nice job with that movie. It's only on Hulu, but I would encourage you to check it out if you can. But in that movie, and if you can imagine, if you're being hunted, where are you gonna go? Where's the best place for you to hide? And again, that's the approach that I would encourage you to take, whether you're still bow hunting or whether you are going to use a gun, is if you were being hunted, and I'm not the first to come up with this concept, I've heard this before, but if you were being hunted, where would you hide in the woods? I mean, you're going to find the thickest, nastiest cover. You're going to get maybe as far away from roads as you can. You might find thermal cover. You do south-facing slopes because the sun exposure would warm you up. But thermal cover, like a group of pines or that sort of thing, and maybe you want to be near an oak flat because there's still some red oaks that are dropping or some red oaks still on the ground. So for me personally, this past weekend, I had a good hunt. Saturday, a group of does did come through. I was in an area that is still sort of a ruddy area, and so I thought I'd give it a go. And I did have a buck come in, and he wasn't quite big enough to shoot, and I passed him. And you have to make those decisions in a second. The does had come in, I think, around 9 and around 10, and I had a feeling that there would be something cruising to cut that trail and follow that trail. And sure enough, he did. And it's one of those things where it's like, well, he's on the border. I'm going to pass. You have 3 seconds to make a decision, and you make that decision. And then the hope, of course, is that something bigger will come through, and nothing bigger did come through. And then I hunted again Sunday morning, and I hunted with my son. I was hoping that he could fill another buck tag, and unfortunately, a small spike came through, and that was really it. And so, as I mentioned earlier, things have shut down, if they're not completely shut down. So again, keep that in mind as you get out there. I would encourage you that the season is not over, so don't throw the towel in. It's going to be more difficult. It's going to be cold, and you're going to see less movement. It's not nearly as fun or exciting, but there's going to be a lot less people in the woods, and that does make it a little bit more enjoyable. So best of luck. Like and share, please. I appreciate your support of this podcast. Share it with friends, and thank you for your time, and best of luck this season.